The night I showed up unannounced, my hand froze on the doorbell. Something was wrong. I felt it before I saw it. The house was quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful. And in that silence, my entire life began to tilt. I didn't plan to visit them. My wife, Aisha, had left 3 days earlier, saying her parents were sick. Her mother's asthma had worsened, her father's blood pressure was unstable. She sounded tired on the phone, worried. I remember telling her to stay as long as she needed. I trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife, the woman I'd built my life around. She took our daughter, Sarah, with her. Sarah was 6, curious, soft-spoken, always clinging to her mother's dupatta. I kissed her forehead before they left and told her to listen to Nana and Nani. She smiled and waved from the car window. That should have been the end of it. But on the third night, something changed. Aisha didn't answer my call. At first, I told myself she was busy. Hospitals, relatives, exhaustion, it made sense. But when the call rang out again, unease crept in. I checked the time, nearly midnight. She'd never ignore my calls that late. Not when Sarah was with her. I sent a message, everything okay? It stayed unread. I didn't sleep that night. I lay staring at the ceiling, listening to the fan click with every rotation, replaying small moments I'd ignored before. How she'd been distant lately. How she avoided eye contact when she packed. How she hesitated, just for a second, when I offered to come with her. I'll manage, she'd said. Too quickly. By morning, my worry had turned into something heavier. Not fear, not yet, just a deep, nagging sense that I was standing outside my own life, watching it through fogged glass. So I drove. Her parents lived 2 hours away, in a quiet neighborhood I knew well. I'd been there countless times, Eids, birthdays, lazy Sunday lunches. They'd always treated me like a son. Her father, Imran uncle, trusted me. Asked my advice. Her mother fussed over my plate like I'd never been fed before. Family. That word mattered to me. The drive felt longer than usual. The sky was dull, overcast, pressing down on the road. I rehearsed excuses in my head. I was worried. You didn't answer. I just wanted to check. I didn't want to sound controlling. I hated the idea of being that man. When I turned onto their street, my chest tightened. There were more cars than I expected. 2 unfamiliar ones parked outside the house. I slowed down, my mind searching for explanations. Relatives visiting, a doctor, neighbors. I parked across the street instead of the driveway. I don't know why. Maybe instinct, maybe cowardice. The house looked normal. Lights on, curtains half drawn. No signs of emergency. No ambulance. No chaos. I walked up the path slowly, my shoes crunching on gravel that suddenly sounded too loud. I reached the gate and noticed something small, but sharp enough to make me pause. Sarah's shoes. Her pink sandals were outside, near the door. Untidy. Kicked off. She always lined them up carefully. Aisha taught her that. I told myself not to overthink it. I raised my hand to ring the bell. And then I heard laughter. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just casual. Familiar. The kind of laughter that comes from comfort, not guests. I lowered my hand. Through the frosted glass of the door, I could see shadows moving. Adult silhouettes, more than 2. I knocked instead. No answer. I knocked again, firmer this time. Footsteps approached. The door opened slightly, and froze. It was Imran uncle. His smile appeared automatically, then faltered when he saw me. Oh, he said. Just that. No warmth. No surprise. Just, oh, uncle. I replied, forcing a smile. I was in the area. Aisha didn't answer my calls, so I thought. He glanced behind him. It was quick, but I saw it. Something passed across his face. Not guilt. Something closer to worry. She's inside, he said slowly. You could have called. I did, I said. That's why I'm here. There was a pause that stretched too long. Then he stepped aside. The living room felt different. Furniture rearranged. Extra cushions on the floor. Teacups on the table, still warm. Someone had been sitting there recently. I saw Aisha near the hallway, her back to me. She was talking to someone I couldn't see. Her voice was low, urgent. Aisha, I said. She turned. For a split second, her face drained of color. Not relief, not happiness, shock. Why are you here? She asked. The words stung more than I expected. I was worried, I said. You didn't answer. She looked past me, toward the door. Toward her father. Then back at me. Sarah, I asked. Where is she? She's sleeping, Aisha said. Too quickly again. Something in her tone, tight, controlled, made my stomach knot. I took a step forward. And that's when I noticed him. He stood partially hidden near the dining area, leaning against the wall like he belonged there. Bilal, my closest friend, the man who stood beside me at my wedding, the man I trusted with my house keys, the man who'd held Sarah when she was born. He looked at me, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, like a child caught somewhere he shouldn't be. For a moment, no one spoke. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. Bilal, I said, my voice barely audible. What are you doing here? He swallowed. Aisha interrupted him. He came to help. Help? With what? My gaze moved between them, searching for something that made sense. Any explanation that didn't tear through the foundation of my life. I noticed how close they stood. How her dupatta was draped carelessly. How his jacket was on the chair, like he planned to stay. And then I heard Sarah's voice from down the hall. Ami. That single word echoed in my chest. I took another step forward. And Aisha moved to block my path. That was the moment everything inside me went cold. To be continued. Aisha stepping in front of me felt louder than any scream. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't dramatic. It was protective. And that hurt more than anything else. Please, she said quietly. Don't make this harder than it already is. Her words didn't make sense at first. My mind was still trying to catch up, still searching for some harmless explanation that could rewind the last few seconds. I looked at Bilal again, waiting for him to laugh, to clap me on the shoulder and say this was all a misunderstanding. He didn't. He couldn't even look at me. Where is my daughter? I asked again, slower this time. My voice didn't shake, but my chest felt hollow, like something essential had been pulled out without warning. She's in the guest room, Aisha said. She's fine. I moved past her before she could stop me. Not forcefully, just enough to make it clear I wasn't asking anymore. She didn't grab my arm. She didn't raise her voice. She let me go. That hurt too. Sarah was lying on the bed, half asleep, hugging her stuffed rabbit. When she saw me, her face lit up instantly. Abu, she whispered, jumping up and wrapping her arms around my neck. You came. I held her tighter than I ever had before, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair, grounding myself in the one thing that still felt real. Yes, Jan, I murmured. I came. She pulled back and frowned. Why are you sad? I smiled for her, a careful, practiced smile. I just missed you. She yawned and lay back down. Within minutes, she was asleep again, trusting the world around her in a way I suddenly realized I couldn't anymore. I stepped out and closed the door softly. In the living room, the three of them stood there, Aisha, Bilal, and her father, like people waiting for a verdict. I didn't sit. How long? I asked. No one answered. How long? I repeated, my eyes locked on Bilal now. He finally looked up. His face was pale, eyes rimmed with red. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I let out a short, breathless laugh. That's not an answer. Aisha crossed her arms, as if bracing herself. Please don't shout. My parents. This is their house, I said. In my life. Silence settled again, thick and suffocating. Bilal spoke first. It started, months ago. Months. The word echoed inside me, colliding with memories I suddenly saw in a different light. Late night calls he brushed off. The way Aisha would step into another room to talk. How Bilal always seemed to know when we were arguing, offering advice I hadn't asked for. He was there for me, Aisha said, her voice trembling now. When you were busy. When you were tired. When I felt invisible. I stared at her. Invisible. I worked long hours, yes. I was exhausted sometimes, but I came home every night. I asked about her day. I held her when she cried. I thought that was enough. Apparently, it wasn't. I never touched her, Bilal said quickly. Not at first. I swear. I raised a hand. Stop, please. He stopped. What about my daughter? I asked softly. Did you think about her? Aisha's eyes filled with tears. I never meant to hurt her. Or you. But you did, I said. Every day you kept this from me, you did. She nodded, wiping her face. I know. Imran uncle cleared his throat. Beta, we asked them to tell you. We didn't support this. I believed him. That made it worse. So why bring him here? I asked. Aisha looked down. I was confused. I needed space. And Bilal, he didn't want to hide anymore. I turned to him. You sat at my table, ate my food, held my child, and all this time, I hated myself, he whispered. I laughed again, this time bitter. That's your defense. No, he said. It's the truth. I felt something shift inside me then. Not anger. Not yet. Something colder. Something final. I trusted you both, I said. Completely. Neither of them denied it. I took a deep breath. I'm taking Sarah home. Aisha looked up sharply. What? She's my daughter, I said. And tonight, she's coming with me. Her panic was immediate. You can't just. She needs stability. She's been sleeping here. She needs her father, I replied. And she needs honesty. Something she's clearly not getting here. Her mother started to speak, but Imran's uncle gently stopped her. Aisha looked at Bilal, then back at me. Please don't do this. Do what? I asked. Protect my child. I went to the guest room and gently woke Sarah. She was groggy but happy to see me again. Are we going home? She asked. Yes, I said. We are. Aisha followed us to the door. She didn't touch Sarah. She didn't stop me. At the threshold, she finally spoke. What happens now? I paused, my hand on the doorframe. I looked back at her, the woman I once planned my entire future with. I don't know, I said honestly. But I know this, nothing will ever be the same. Bilal stood behind her, silent, smaller than I'd ever seen him. As I stepped outside with Sarah in my arms, the night air felt colder, sharper. The house behind me glowed warmly, like a lie wrapped in soft light. Sarah rested her head on my shoulder. Abu, yes, Jan, are you and Ami angry? I swallowed hard. We're figuring things out. She nodded, satisfied with that answer, trusting me completely. As I strapped her into the car, I realized something that stopped me cold. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a life I never asked for, but would now have to protect with everything I had. And behind me, in that quiet house, the people I loved most were learning what it truly meant to lose my trust.